We're excited about continuing to build the young guys, the freshmen that are in the program, and getting those guys to a point where they can obviously contribute to the team. That being said, we can work into whatever questions you guys have.
Andy, we haven't seen a depth chart yet, so I didn't know if there was anything. I know we talked to you last time about some of the battles, but were there any other battles or things you can say about the way the depth chart shook out?
No, it's exactly how you guys have asked questions in the last couple interviews. It's all the same. That will be released on Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay. Not having played in front of a crowd for almost 2 years now, particularly the offense, having to go down there to what's probably going to be a sellout or close to it, new offense. And, first time with that kind of atmosphere, how much of a concern, if any, is that for the offense and the challenge of having to go against a full stadium again?
Yeah, you mentioned it. That dynamic of playing on the road, especially for the offense and the communication within a new offense, we've, to the best we can, we've been simulating the effect that the noise is going to have in terms of us being able to hear verbally. And so really stressing the nonverbal communication and making sure that within the pre-snap, we are playing fast and efficient with our eyes so that we can get the communication that we need nonverbally, and that we don't get stalled out, and have pre-snap issues that are going to stall out drives.
And you've obviously been a part of this program for a long time. These kind of.
Sorry, you muted yourself, BJ.
Oh, sorry. You've been a part of these, big openers, for a long time. Just in terms of what it can mean for a season and the momentum it can give you guys. How big is a game like this and the opportunity you guys have on a Thursday night, one of the only games on ESPN, to kind of make a statement early in the season?
Yeah, the opponent we're facing is obviously they've been very, very successful, in the past few years, and the things that they've been able to accomplish. And really that's what we're focused on, is our opportunity to be able to compete and see all the things that we've learned and grown from, in this first game. And as we continue to do so throughout this week and using our opportunities to continue to prepare, that's really what we're focusing on, is our growth every single day. We're not looking forward to the rest of the year. We're looking forward to handling our process, to make sure that we put ourselves in the best position possible for when that ball kicks at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Hey, Coach. So for you personally, I'm sure you've been thinking about this first game as a head coach for a long time, and this one's a big one. I mean, it might be the biggest Group of 5 game in the country. It's on ESPN. You're facing Gus Malzahn. I mean, how excited are you, and what are your thoughts on going out there for the first time as a head coach?
Yeah, no question. I think every game, especially to start the season, regardless of your role as an assistant coach, a coordinator, the new role, as a head coach, it's exciting. There's for sure an adrenaline rush that goes along not only with, knowing and understanding what that feeling is going to be like, but the prep that goes with it. That's the fun part. When you just focus on the prep every single day and again, trying to rep situations, create situations so that not only the players got to respond, but us as coaches. There's a lot of things that we've repped, that we've put into place to challenge ourselves as coaches and working through to best prepare ourselves for the first time that we get to come together, as a team on that field. And it's a blessing to be a part of this back in this program and to be in the position we are in and to be around these guys every single day.
Schematically, this is kind of a classic matchup. You're a defensive guy. Gus Malzahn's an offensive specialist. Do you have any history coaching against him in the past, and what do you expect from a Gus Malzahn offense?
Yeah, in 2019, we started off the year against each other when he was at Auburn. I was at Oregon. So we've gone against we've coached against each other. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's two different teams. It's two different teams, two totally different personnels that – from obviously 2019, there's no one, that was personnel wise. Well, I guess there are a few guys on that squad that were involved in that game now. But so, yeah, I'm sure they will be somewhat familiar with our defense. Obviously, I'm not the defense coordinator now. So we have prepared for his offense, and his offense is one of the most challenging ones in my career that we've ever faced from the standpoint of they're multiple in all phases of the game, whether it be tempos and how they use tempos with no huddles, speed huddles, the variety of personnels and formations that come along with those things. And in my experience in studying and watching and playing against, his offense is always physical. And that's not just inside the tackles and on the edges and in the backfield, but on the perimeter as well. From studying and watching, his wide receivers are always well trained on how to block on the perimeter and how to play physical on the perimeter. And that's going to be a great challenge as well.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Jay, you're up.
Andy, how we doing?
Good. How are you, Jay? There you are.
I'm good. I'm good, thanks. Game week, obviously, is finally here. Andy, ever since you got back on campus here at Boise State, you have talked about the brotherhood. I know you clearly value the legacy of Boise State football and what it means. If you look at the group of 5 schools, this is a massive game in terms of legacy. So how are you and your team approaching this game? And are you recognizing kind of what's at stake, I guess?
You know what, for us, I mean, the consistency of how we operate every day is the most important thing. And naturally, all those things, whatever the magnitude of a game or, whatever that scale looks like, the things how consistent we are every single day and handling our preparation as we go into each and every mission this year together, and how we work together and how we align our self-interest, whether it be coaches, players, staff members, whoever that is, with the greater good of the brotherhood is the most important thing. And that's when the brotherhood becomes strong. That's when we prepare ourselves, to put ourselves in the best situations when we go on a stage like this.
You've now been with your team for almost 9 months. You guys have been practicing for almost a month now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared are you guys to go down to Central Florida and try to get a win?
Yeah, no question. We spoke in our team meeting this morning that we've accomplished a lot of things that we wanted to in fall camp in terms of establishing a certain mentality and being consistent with that mentality. We need to continue to grow certain habits and values into ourselves that will allow us to be more consistent with that mentality day to day. We've been able to establish some depth in certain areas. We're coming out of spring ball, we necessarily didn't. And we've been able to have a bonus week in prep for our first opponent, and not only prep for them, but also continue to build on some things coming out of fall camp that we needed to continue to work on in terms of getting good work. And we'll continue to do so as we work forward. And that being said, we're extremely excited about where we're at going into, the real first week of practice for our opponent. Now we have a whole week left to prepare, Jay. So I'd be premature, to give a rating on where, on that. But I think our whole staff is excited, especially coming out of the mock game that we had the other night, where we put a lot of situations in the mock game that we felt like, very well could come up in this game. And the way the players responded and handled those things was very encouraging.
Go to Bob.
Coach, as we head into a first game, what's different about playing a first game? And then what do you think is going to be different for you as a first-time head coach?
Well, the thing about playing in a first game in general is just, kind of what you guys are talking about is personnel. I mean, people are going to keep that tight to their vest, right up until game time and those things, especially, in a year where there's in particular to this contest, there's 2 new head coaches, new coordinators, all those things. And so there's a little bit of the unknown going in the first game in terms of those things. As a first-time head coach, there's going to be all kinds of new things that is actually happening, for keeps. We've ran a bunch of drills and simulations, again, not only for the players, but for the coaches, for, my responsibilities and everyone else involved in the operation. And so now it's time to do it for real here in a few days. And, it's exciting. It is an adrenaline rush. That I think not only the coaches, but the players as well, they feel that and they understand that. And they understand that we have a great opportunity in front of us, but we have a lot of prep left to do as we go through this week.
And my second one, quarterback matchup. Dylan Gabriel's been quarterback the last couple of years for them, and Hank Bachmeier the last couple of years for you. Kind of compare and contrast them. Where do you think each of the guys' strengths are, and how similar or how different are they in style?
Well, I will say this: they're both tremendous. And, going all the way back, Dylan, and being able to watch both all the way back to high school, Dylan's from Hawaii, and that was my recruiting area. So very familiar with him from even coming out of high school and the things he did, at Mililani, and obviously Hank as well from Southern California, and being able to see him, as he progressed through high school. So it's tremendous to see, who both these guys have become on the field. Obviously, I know Hank a lot more off the field, but from just the standpoint of, part of watching a quarterback is watching what he does before that ball snap. As how he handles the operation in the pre-snap, how he leads his team, how they engage their teammates as leaders. And I think, from afar, obviously with Dylan, but here with Hank, and just where he's really stepped up and being able to put confidence into guys, that's created a higher level of execution on the field. They both are tremendous in the pass game. You can see that they really understand pass progressions, understand how to stay on time. Dylan Gabriel gets the ball out extremely quick. His release is fast. His feet are quick. When they're set, he's going to get rid of it. So we're going to see two of the best quarterbacks in college football.
Andy, when we were talking with Kane the other day, he mentioned UCF's team speed really stands out to him. How much does their team speed stand out to you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even their offensive line has got some twitch that you would normally see on the defensive line. The way they come off the ball in itself, the offensive line, just watching, again, their personnel last year, different scheme and those things, but they come off physical, and they got some fast twitch up front that is obviously going to challenge and test the front of the defensive line. But based on the players returning at their skill positions on the offense side of the ball, they do have some speed on the perimeter. They are very fast. How we leverage formations and how we handle ourselves in situations where they're working to get on the perimeter, and how we're able to handle our block destruction on the perimeter is going to be key to those things, where those guys will get their carries on the perimeter and look to gain yards after the catch. And that's going to be a huge part of this game. Not only that, but then the play action stuff that comes off all the run game, and being able to be really, really efficient with our eyes and play with great eye control so we can compete and execute our techniques to win our one-on-ones is going to be a huge part of this game on the perimeter with the wide receiver DB matchups.
For you personally, what's the best part of it finally being game week?
Well, I will say this. I will say the one thing that I have learned before I answer your question is that everything has gone extremely fast, so that it is actually game week, and today is Monday of game week. That is the exciting part, that it is here. The thing that, again, I note is that everything has gone so fast. So how quick it will be, we got to relish the time right now and enjoy the process of continuing to prepare, because before we know it, that ball is going to be teed up on Thursday. And that's why I say everything has gone so fast. So I think our players and, as well as everybody else, worked so hard to prepare through the course of the year from January all the way to now. And here we are. And so for us to just be able to enjoy the process of competing every day, continuing to grow ourselves forward and preparing ourselves for our opportunity is what I'm looking forward to making sure that we do as a team, and we have fun doing it.
Go to John.
Hey, Andy, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, John?
Pretty good. So, first matchup between you guys, between these two programs, it's kind of hard to separate, separate the two paths you guys have been on as programs. It kind of almost feels like with at least the fans on Twitter, there's already some sort of rivalry brewing. Just for you, how fun is it to be involved in a matchup like this?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, both programs have rightfully so, have gained the respect, within college football. And it's attributed to the coaches, the past, and obviously the players of the past and the things that those players and coaches have been able to accomplish. And, to the current coaches and following this program, in terms of UCF for some years now, because they have done such a good job, and watching from afar, and now being, here we are, this has been on the calendar for a few years, and here we are with this matchup coming into play. It is, it's a great opportunity for both programs to be able to go out and compete and really, show that within, the group of fives too, the type of football and the type of teams there are. The type of talent that is going to be on the field on Thursday night is going to be impressive.
What kind of measure? How do you guys kind of use this as a measuring stick for where you guys stand in the group of five?
Yeah, the thing about that too, in answering that question, is it is the first game of the season, and so that more so it's a measuring stick for us on where are we at, and we're going to look back at the end of the season and say, where did we grow from? This is the first game of the year. There's going to be a tremendous amount of growth required from us as a staff and us, as a team all together from this first game. And really that's what we're focusing on, is where do we grow from here throughout the course of the season.
Thanks a lot.
Paul J., do you have questions?
Paul J., hit that mute. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. That's why I didn't hit the mute. You need to turn that sound off. Coach, their defense was 123rd last year in the country. What kind of changes do you expect to see in their defense this year? Obviously, they want to improve it. New coaching staff. What do you look for? How do you gauge something like that?
Yeah, there's no question. Number one, it's a new coaching staff. Paul J., they have added, obviously a few transfers, in particular, a guy up front on the edge that it's been a pretty impactful player, coming from Auburn. And so it is a whole new year, how they've grown that personnel, the schemes that they will now run, and those things. There are talented players that are returning from last year. And so naturally we'd expect to see the growth take place there. And, we will have a new offense as well that is starting to click on a whole lot of different cylinders and moving in the right direction. And so that will be a big part of it in this game, Paul J., is how both sides, how that matchup, Boise State's offense and UCF's defense, and seeing where they are at as we start this game, and then obviously being able to build momentum in the consistency of which each side of the ball plays.
Hey, Ron, I'll come to you for your follow-up.
So, Coach, UCF is a program that's thrown the ball around a lot in the past, but Dylan Gabriel is a quarterback that can hurt teams with his legs as well. Going back to your days as defensive coordinator, when you're scheming against a dual threat quarterback, what are some of the most important things you have to do to control him, to slow him down?
Yeah, no question. I mean, again, you said it, he can do it with his arm. There is no question about that. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks you'll see. But he can also extend plays and create plays with his legs as well. So that being said, we got to be extremely disciplined within those passing situations, and maintaining our rush lanes, and being able to make sure that we have him accounted for within coverages too. And as well as, in the run game, and making sure that we're handling the edge as well in the situations where it's pocket movement, and or whether it's a read keep for him, and just making sure that we do a great job leveraging formations.
Thank you.
Jay, to you for your follow-up.
Andy, when it's so funny because we hear about the heat and the humidity. Typically, Boise State has gone on the road and they've played all right in the heat and humidity. We've seen the Inferno practices. How prepared are you guys for what you'll see down there in terms of climate, do you think?
Yeah, no question. It's not only preparing for, an opponent personnel's X's and O's and those things, but you got to prepare for a climate in a situation like this when it is different from the one that we are in. And so being able to build those mechanisms into our training, into our fall camp, we actually got an extra inferno in because of fires and smoke in fall camp, where we had to move into the indoor, and actually it was our first scrimmage, and the decision got made a couple hours before the scrimmage went off, and no one blinked. We put the coaches up in the fire towers up above, and they worked their game day simulations from there. And it was a solid, probably 98 degrees that day. So naturally there's no air conditioning in the indoor, and because it was smoky, all the doors were shut. So it was probably hotter and more muggier in there that day than it was when we actually did the Inferno. And so we've had our opportunities to practice and create certain climates that are different from here. We got to rely and trust in our training and our prep. And obviously we got to do an unbelievable job with our hydration plan as we move forward through the course of this week.
All right, BJ, still got time, so you get one question too.
Andy, when you go on the road all the way to Florida, whole day of travel basically, and a game of this magnitude, as everyone's talking about, how nice is it to have a veteran team for the most part, and having some key super senior guys and on defense and a third-year starting quarterback? I mean, to have some guys that have been through this in terms of the travel, not letting the game become too much and things like that. How nice is it to have some key veterans on the team to help you through this?
Yeah, BJ, that's huge. I mean, we got to consider all things within this mission and this opportunity we have is, all the way from travel and mind you, traveling through with certain COVID protocols and how we're going to handle those things as we take this operation to the road, and how mature we can be with those things and relying on our leadership and, some of the super seniors that have been through this, that understand, that have been on the road, not just, regionally, but as you stated, that have traveled across the country, that have traveled to Hawaii on these longer trips, and understanding what that looks like, understanding, and for us too, as coaches, being a new staff too, explaining the why is, why we're going to do certain things within travel and what we're going to do when we get there and how we're going to take care of ourselves when we get there. All that's important so that everyone understands the details of this prep and this process.
Hey, Rick, go ahead. You said you had one here. You haven't asked one yet.
Hi, Coach.
How you doing, Rick?
So I hear a lot of confidence from you. I've heard a lot of confidence from your team. What worries you? I mean, what's keeping you up right now?
You know what? To honestly answer your question, I don't have a problem at all falling asleep at night. We do our work here, and we handle our prep, and we work, diligently, and it's more about competing every day. And when it's on us to compete every single day and try to be out in front of things, and put ourselves in situations and or handle things that may become problems prior to them becoming problems. You got to be able to lay your head on the pillow at night and get your rest so that you can get up. And when that alarm clock goes off and those 2 feet hit the ground, and be ready to compete again. And I guess the reason why, I can lay my head on the pillow at night is because all the men that are involved in this program, that are leading this program, the women that are involved in this program, that help us do this every single day. And again, I said, I fully expect us. This is going to be a starting point where we are in this game. I'm excited about where we'll be in our starting point, but I'm really excited where we'll grow from this too, with the type of people that we got, in this program. And so for us, always, some of the biggest things going on the road, and it was already asked earlier, Rick, the one thing that an environment that's hard to create is playing in front of fans again after last year being what it was, and going into an atmosphere that has a reputation of it does. Us being able to handle that atmosphere, is something that we have to continue to put our guys in the best situations and use certain techniques throughout this week, Rick, that is going to help us be ready for that.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Andy, thanks for the time. Best of luck down in Orlando.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. And for you guys that are going down there, travel safe. And we'll see you down there.
That's good.
Thanks, Andy. Craig, are we going to roll with the assistants early, or do we have 7 minutes till?
I don't know. The files will be separate, I can tell you that. How would I do that?
Hey, Craig, can you start the video on this again?
Yeah, you got it coming up.
You're going to have to turn the video for this back on.
Oh, on yours. I got you. Sorry. I see what you're saying.
There we go. All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's go. Let's go. Ron, Jay, Bob. Remember, we're doing 2 questions off the first time around, guys.
Hey, Tim, how's it going?
What's going on?
So this is the first chance we had to talk to you since the quarterback decision was made. Excuse me. Tell me, in your opinion, why did Hank win this job?
Well, I think at the end of the day, Hank operated the offense and was able to move the team consistently, make good decisions, be accurate with the football, and improved his leadership off the field, most importantly. So I think he improved in all those areas, as did Jack. But at the end of the day, from a competition standpoint, he was ahead of him. And so we feel really good about the position room as a whole, but I'm excited for Hank and looking forward to seeing him do his thing.
In terms of the backfield, I'm curious how you're going to divvy up carries this year. I mean, do you go into a game saying, George Holani needs X number of touches, or is it kind of a game by game decision? How's that going to work?
Yeah, I definitely think with the best guys on your roster at all positions, a good OC is going to say, hey, we got to get this guy the ball as much as we can. Right. So, obviously, George is a guy that we feel really good about, but we feel good about a lot of guys in that room. And so I imagine that every week you'll have a number of guys that get carries, but obviously some will get more than others. So we'll rotate it from a series by series basis. Sometimes it'll be more about personnel and matchups, and so it'll be kind of a weekly decision on how we divvy those up and who's healthy and all that.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Yep.
How's it going, Tim?
Hey, Jay.
Tim, I was watching a college football pregame show this week, and they said the best part about football is actually getting to play football. How excited are you to see what this new offense looks like with new pieces? I mean, I guess the offense is old to you, but you have new pieces running it. So how excited are you to see what this looks like?
Yeah, that's probably the number one emotion I'm feeling is just excitement as a whole. I think some people forget I haven't coached in a game since November of 2019, right? So it's been a long, long time. So I'm just excited and I'm relishing every day. Even being on the practice field today, on the grass with beautiful weather, coaching up guys, knowing there's a game this week. I mean, all that stuff. I haven't felt that in a long time, so I'm very excited. I know the guys are just focused on our execution and playing at the level that we hope we can play at and know we can play at. And so, yeah, I'm very excited for those guys to go out there and operate it and have some fun. I know they're excited, looking forward to it.
With the quarterback competition, so much attention is paid to the competition, but just focusing on actual improvement. We've heard time and time again that Hank is night and day different from what he looked like in the spring. Andy even said it's not even worth talking about the spring anymore. So as a guy that's in the room with Hank every day, how much has Hank improved and how much joy have you had just kind of getting to build a relationship with Hank?
Yeah, I think, I've told you guys before, my balance is tough when you're a quarterback coach and an offense coordinator. The quarterback coach in me was really happy and really crushed the other day. I felt like I was really excited for Hank. At the same time, very disappointed for Jack and felt like I had let Jack down. As a coach, you feel like maybe I didn't do enough for him. And that's just kind of the thought process and the balance that you go through. As the offensive coordinator, I was really excited because I felt like both guys had gotten to a point where they could really do some impressive things. And when you're talking strictly about Hank, I think, when you're going to the offense that we run, we just give a lot more autonomy than he's had in the past. And there's a way to teach quarterbacks where you can protect them and keep things off their plate. which is a way a lot of guys do it, and they're successful that way. And there's a way where you can put them in charge of a lot of things, and that tells the coach to check his ego at the door and allow the players to have the capacity to do it on their own. And while you do that, you're going to go through some bumps and bruises. And he went through those in spring. All those guys did. But, just the way I've been taught and how I teach the quarterbacks is we got to go through those dark days so that they can learn how to make those adjustments. And watching both of them in fall camp, you could see that. And then I felt like the last week of fall camp and talking with Andy, Hank just took another huge step that really allowed him to win the job. So he's just operating the offense at a really high level. He's got a good understanding of what we're trying to do. He's improved some of the areas that we really wanted to improve, and he's still not a finished product. I mean, I still look forward to working with him for a long time now, and he'll get better every time he does this, and every rep he gets, he'll improve.
Tim, when you look at UCF, you've got a team that has new coaches just like yourself. So what are you expecting from their defense, and what do you expect to be their strengths on defense?
First, I want to say hi to my neighbor, Bob. How you doing? And then second of all, would say, I have no idea what they're going to do, Bob. I literally have no idea what they're going to do defensively. We have a guess of what could happen, right? But this is a first-time defensive coordinator who's highly thought of by a lot of people and has been kind of waiting for his shot, and now he's got it. So I know what that was like for me when I was calling plays for the first time. You have your influences, but then you have things that you want to do. So we've really been focusing more on us and on Boise State and what we need to do offensively, and less focused on what they're going to do, because we're watching somebody else. We don't really get to watch them and see what they're going to do. It'll be a feeling out process early on for sure.
And then for your own team right now, what do you sense as the strengths of your offense? If you're going to lean on a few things, what do you see as being the things that you think you can count on the most?
I think the strength that we have right now is in numbers. I think we're a strength in numbers group in that we don't just have one or two guys. I feel like we have several people at different positions that can play at a very high level, that from game to game you'll see have higher roles, and kind of see who the hot hand is, kind of like a basketball team, I guess, at that point. Like, I just think we have a lot of numbers of guys that can do some things for us, and that's probably our biggest strength, is just our strength in numbers.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Bob.
Let's go to Will.
Sorry, my mouse was failing me right there. Tim, how have you seen your offensive line progress the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, they've taken a lot of huge strides. Been very impressed by those guys. They're working really well together. And like any of the other positions, just the more reps they've gotten, the more comfortable they've gotten. We've tried to, really build a mentality up front that can win football games like we've had here for a long time. Those guys are very prideful. They're very confident right now. So we think those guys are playing really well.
You've been coaching a long time. What's the best part of it finally being game week?
I think for one of the cool things about being a coach is, the work that we put in, I feel like is the days prior to the game. I'm not playing in the game anymore. So I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most is when you get to the game, you're obviously coaching your guys and getting the adjustments made in games, but just kind of like we were talking about earlier, I'm really looking forward to just watching these guys play with no restrictions, with no scrimmage rules or, how things have to be kind of scripted out sometimes. Just let them play, let them go play and find joy. And so I'm really looking forward to those guys just being loose and having fun with it. And I know they've been waiting around for an opportunity. And so I think we're all chomping at the bit to get going.
Let's go to BJ. What's up, Tim?
Hey, BJ.
Hey, you mentioned you're not coaching since November of 2019. That was about the last time that, Boise State had fans in the stands too. I mean, on the road. I mean, I know you guys can practice with crowd noise and all that, but what kind of challenge, concern is that for your first game of a new offense on the road in front of likely a packed house down there?
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the best things about it is the environment we're about to play in is going to be super cool. I mean, you're talking about a place, and I've never been there. I've just heard from coaches that have coached in that place, how loud it can get and how impressive their support is. And that's fun, man. That's that's awesome. So I'm very thankful that we've gotten to a point where we can play in front of packed stadiums and everyone can be safe, and we can do that because that'll be a great atmosphere. But anytime you go on the road as an offense, that's something you got to overcome. And that's something we've been practicing for a long time for any of those situations that come up. So our guys will be ready for that. But I think they should think of it more as a positive and just, man, let's enjoy the fact that we have this many people out here watching us, whether they're booing for us or cheering for us. It's still going to be really fun.
We were out there for a little bit of practice the other day, and I heard you talking to the quarterbacks. You were just mentioning, Big Camp Bryant, just saying his name a couple of times. And I know you touched on it, but from a defensive standpoint of UCF, what stands out to that you? And obviously that D line's got, him and a couple other guys that are, potential next level players. What do you see from their defense?
Yeah, I think anytime you're playing great players up front, that's going to be a huge focus of what you want to do offensively. And obviously, you mentioned the defensive end, and he's a tremendous talent and someone we got to be aware of. But I think they got some other guys on that defensive line that are very impressive. I know one of their guys that opted out is going to be back, and I thought he was a very impressive player. But they got 4 or 5 guys up there that can roll and get after the quarterback. So that's definitely going to be something we have to overcome in the game is finding a way to handle those guys so that we can operate. But that'll be a fun challenge for us.
Paul J, do you have questions for Tim? Good. Okay. Jay, you said you had one as a follow-up then?
Yep, I do. When Tim, the first time we talked with you, you developed a pretty cool hashtag that had Bronco Nation fired up. Hashtag #100. The time is now obviously to put points on the scoreboard. So how big of a challenge will that be at UCF? And how do you find joy playing in 90 degrees, 90% humidity with 50,000 fans, across the country from home?
Yeah, I think the #100 thing is taken off a life of its own, which, maybe that's a lesson for me. But I think in the last 7 years since that started, I don't even know if we've hit 50 points more than a handful of times. Right. But again, I think it's important. I really want to share again, like where that came from. When I was at Northern Arizona, we had a player named Mike DeGroot who we loved dearly. And he had an unfortunate accident hunting with his father when he passed away, and he wore number 49. And we talked about, well, how can we find joy when we lose our teammate? And we said, well, we can find joy by honoring him by how we play. And if he wore number 49, I know we played well if we scored 49 points. That's where the #100 thing came from. And really what it means is, we're not going to focus on the scoreboard. We're not going to worry about how many points we're down or how many points we're up until we reach that number. And if we get to that number, if we're lucky enough to play that well, then you can come tell me how well we're doing. And there'll be a handful of times where we pull that off, hopefully. But I've also realized that if we don't hit that number, there's going to be signs in my driveway and people are going to be fired up, and that's cool. We can do that. We'll give it our best. How do you find joy down in the bounce house? I mean, how do you not find joy playing football in front of a big crowd against a great opponent on national television? I mean, if you can't find joy doing that, you shouldn't be playing football or coaching football. So I think we got a lot of joy in this group with the staff and the players. And so we're just looking forward to it. So how could you not find it out there would be my answer,
Ron,
Thank you, Tim. We'll have Bob protect your house too.
Yep.
Hey, Tim, you've been asked a lot about the UCF defense, but I'm curious about your unit. What is one thing your offense has to do to win this game?
Yeah, I think you guys have mentioned it, right? We gotta control the atmosphere there. We got to make sure we handle that the right way and get a feel for how we're going to be able to operate. I think we need to operate our offense efficiently, in the pre-snap, making sure we're getting guys lined up so that we can operate it correctly. No pre-snap penalties or things that can hurt us, and then we just got to make plays. You get in a big game like that and big atmosphere. There's going to be opportunities when, guys got to win their one-on-ones, and when their number's called, we gotta make the throw, make the catch, make the block, make the guy miss. It's just going to be guys operating in that atmosphere and winning their one-on-ones, and do that enough, you'll be able to create some explosive plays and hopefully get enough points on the board where you got more than them.
I know you're a guy that studies a lot of football. Have you ever studied Gus Malzahn? And if so, what do you expect from that offense?
Yeah, I have studied Coach Malzahn a lot. Probably more in the days when he was at Arkansas was when I first started really getting into his stuff. He does a tremendous job of creating a lot of eye confusion and eye discipline issues for the defense. I expect them to have a high tempo offense that creates a lot of confusion for the defense. They're going to have to communicate really well, and they do a good job running the football and mixing in their play action stuff. And so he's been very successful wherever he's been. I know that a lot of the motion stuff that he's done for a long time were things that we started using a while back when we saw them doing that, and just the tackle over stuff. And so very creative mind. Not surprised with all the success he's had, and I know that'll be a great challenge for our defense.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Hey, Rick, I know you want to try to get one in. We got time for one more. It's got to be quick, though.
All right, just real quick. Hi, Coach.
Hey,
I kind of jokingly asked when we had the spring game, at what point, now that you're a Boise State coach, do you pull out something like Statue Ride? Have you had a chance to think about that?
I mean, but even before I came to Boise, we've always had exotic plays in the game plan, right? So we'll have exotics in every week, but now there's probably more pressure to call them because everyone in Bronco Nation is expecting some type of statue double reverse pass. So I can thank Coach Pete and Coach Harsin and all those guys for putting me under that microscope. But we'll have some exotics ready every week, Rick, and if we get to the right spot, we'll call them.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Best of luck.
Tim, appreciate you, man. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
Thanks, Tim.
It's all yours, sir.
What's up, guys? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good. Let me get the recording started, Spencer, and we'll get you going here.
Okay.
All right, Jay, lead us off, please.
Game week. How we doing, Spencer?
What's up, Jay? Doing good, man. Fired up. Hope you guys are doing well, too.
We are doing well. It's game week. Spencer, I know this is kind of a loaded question because you're an extremely passionate individual, but when you look at UCF, how hard is it going to be to slow down Dylan Gabriel and contain the speed which they possess, especially at wide receiver?
Yeah, no, we've been looking at it for a long time now, Jay, and our guys are excited for the task, and our staff is excited for the task. But I mean, you can't run away from the fact that Coach Malzahn has been coaching great offenses for a long time, and he does a great job creating mismatches, creating one-on-ones, confusion, tempo. I mean, there's just a lot of offense you got to prepare for when you go against Coach Malzahn. And now at UCF, he's got one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country coming back. That's without a doubt. And he's got speed all around the field at the receiving position. He's got running backs, tight ends. I mean, he's got all the weapons he needs to run his offense the way he wants to run it. So we're excited for the challenge, but you're 100% right. I mean, it is going to be a great task, and we're excited for it.
When you look at your defense, I know you guys haven't presented the actual starting 11 yet, but there's a good chance all but one of them will probably have some type of starting experience at the collegiate level. Last week, when I asked you about the heart and soul of your defense, you named 7 guys. Having that type of experience to go across the country and take on a program like UCF, how beneficial will this be?
It's huge, Jay, and especially the guys that have been here. They've been through a lot. From COVID to guys even here prior to that, to the ups and downs of that, to dealing with some of those things. Some of these guys dealing with injuries from last year that are back now, that have battled to get them back to the position where they're in today. So I honestly just cannot be more excited for our players to have this atmosphere, to go play one of the top teams around. I just can't wait for our guys because they deserve that opportunity. They've worked their tail off and they deserve that opportunity. And but to your point, Jay, it is huge. Having guys that have been in these games, been in big games before, understand what it is, and that this isn't new to them. Obviously, first game, going to be a packed house from everything we hear. All those things are going to go into it. But we do have guys that return that understand who we are in defense, what we want to be.
Let's go to Bob.
Coach, what do you feel going to be the strengths of the defense as you get out there in the first quarter? I mean, is there a few things that you think you can hang your hat on to having a good start to the game?
Yeah, great question, Bob. I think first and foremost, you're just going to see our boys pursue. You know, we will be relentless to start the game. Our guys are going to fly around. There's no doubt in my mind. We're prepared for that. And then the big one that I'm excited for our guys to do is just communicate, be on the same page. You know, UCF and Coach Malzahn do a great job creating different looks, and they've obviously had a whole year to prepare for this game as well. And so excited to see some of the things they do. And our guys are going to have their rules, but they're going to go out there and communicate, and they're going to be relentless. Those are the big things, especially early on in the game, that we're preaching, and I know our guys are going to do early on and consistently do.
And then what are your impressions of Gabriel? Everybody talks about, you know, how good he is, how experienced he is. So is there one or two things that he does that are better than the, you know, even the elite quarterbacks out there, something that would make him maybe All-American type status?
Yeah. The thing watching Dillon Gabriel, obviously he can make all the throws. He's a tough quarterback too. I mean, he stands in the pocket. He creates pass lanes for himself. You know, you watch a ton of plays, you know, he has monster throws that are really broken plays, you know, where he gets out of the pocket, he avoids an initial blitzer, makes the throw on the run, steps up in the pocket, runs for 15, keeps the drive going. I've never met him in my life, but he seems like a competitor too, where he's going to lead those guys and he's going to compete. And you got to be all over him because he can make you miss with his feet and he can make all the throws and he has the weapons to make you pay.
Go to BJ.
What's up, Spencer?
BJ, what's up, brother?
Hey, your guys' defensive line against their offensive line, what kind of battle is that going to be? They've got the 5 returning starters, as you know, up front. What kind of challenge is that going to be? What kind of battle is that going to be up front for you?
Yep. Well, it's awesome. It's an awesome task for our D-line. And we put it on them, and they understand that for us, like, everything starts up front. No different than offense. Like, if you can't control the line of scrimmage, you're not going to win. Offensively or defensively, you're not going to win. So it starts up front. They obviously understand the task in front of them too. All returning starters on the offensive line. They obviously had a really good season last year at UCF offensively, obviously different schematics, but their offensive line are good. They're extremely quick feet. They work very well together, and Herb Hand is their offensive lines coach, and I think he's one of the best around doing it. So they will be coached up. They have the talent, and they'll be ready to go. And so are our players. You know, our D line's ready to roll. Coach Miley's done a great job with them, and they're excited for the task, and they understand how big it is.
Obviously, running the football is something Gus likes to do in his offense. And how key is stopping the run? I know it's always key, but in a game like this, putting them behind the chains, things like that. How big is stopping the run in a game like this?
BJ, it's number one, without question. It's number one. Stopping the run is number one every week for us. But to your point, BJ, it is number one for a reason this week against who we're playing. So for our guys, if you even ask them, like, what's the biggest thing in the game? First and foremost for us, it starts with stopping the run and controlling the line of scrimmage. Coach Malzahn does a great job creating different looks, from unbalanced to tackle overs to fly sweeps to different ways to create run game that is tough to prepare for. So our guys will be ready for it. We're repping it. But stopping the run is first and foremost.
All right. Let's go to Ron.
Hey, Spence, how's it going?
What's up, Ron?
So I'm sure it's always difficult to prepare for the opener, but this week has to be especially difficult for you. Historically, Gus Malzahn offenses have been run heavy. In the past, UCF has thrown the ball around a lot and kind of leaned on the RPO stuff. So as a staff, what do you guys lean on when you're preparing for this game?
Yeah, good question. It's obviously a lot of, looking at, the personnel they have at UCF, who he was at Auburn, kind of who he is as a play caller and his identity. So getting into a lot of that. But to your point, I mean, they've had a whole year to prepare, and he's had a whole year to figure out ways to do things better or do things different to attack what he thinks he's going to see. We got some things that we're excited to do against them, and he's got some things he's excited to do against us. And so the biggest thing for us, especially on defense, to the initial point, was we got to be able to communicate. We give our guys rules for every call on how to play it and how to make adjustments on the field, because on defense, that's what it is. We adjust to what they do. It's not like on offense, where, all right, we don't have this player, we're going to call a different player, we're going to do something different. We adjust to what they want to do, but we will be on the attack, and we will create plays that way for our defense. But first and foremost, we got to communicate, because we're going to see stuff that we haven't prepared for, and we'll be okay, because our guys understand their rules, they'll apply them. So the biggest thing for our defense is communicating, being on the same page. And then obviously as coaches, we've shown them the plan, but then you also kind of have an extra plan that you're ready for if they come out in it, because you can only show your guys so much, or else they're not going to be able to play fast the way you want them to.
You were on staff in 19 when you guys opened up at Florida State. I know that whole experience was crazy for everybody, but I'm curious about Hank Bachmeier and Khalil Shakir, both of them very young at that point. Both of them made huge plays in the second half of that game. What did you learn about those guys in that environment?
Man, I remember that day like it was yesterday, Ron, and just the comeback win and just how big it was for our players and our program going down there, especially with the storm and moving venues and all those things. So just from our entire team, it showed just the resiliency that we preach here at Boise State. And that really shone through that game. But in particular, Shaq and Hank, just that they were going to be very special. You leave that game knowing, okay, these guys are going to be nightmares to go against if you're a defense in our conference or around the country for time to come. And they've lived up to that. And I'm excited for them to show the steps they've taken this offseason, because I know going against them in fall camp, they're operating at a high level. So I'm excited to see both those guys, obviously the multiple weapons we have on offense, but especially those two go out and show people how hard they've worked this offseason.
Thanks, man. Good luck this week.
Thanks, Ron.
Go to Will.
Hey, Spence, how we doing?
What's up, Will?
Hey, we were just talking with Tim, and he said he studied Gus Malzahn's offense, and he said Gus's offense really does a nice job of testing defenses' eye discipline. Mm-hmm. How important will that be Thursday?
Will be huge. It's going to be huge. For us on defense, like I was answering BJ's question, we have standards with which we play. First and foremost is stopping the run. But to get all these different things done that we preach, it starts with communication and eye control. Because communication and knowing what I'm looking at gets you in rhythm on defense. And so understanding what I'm looking at and what that tells me is huge. And especially with an offense like Coach Malzahn has and has done a great job for a long time, he does a lot of things to make that very difficult to do consistently, from the tempo to the motions to the sets to the alignments. He wants to make that difficult on defenses, and he's done a great job with it. So it's been a huge point of emphasis for our staff, and we're consistently working on it.
For you personally, what's the best part of it finally being game week?
Man, good question. I'm just and you guys know how much I love our players. I'm just excited to see them go cut it loose. All the work they've done since January to now, seeing it come to fruition for them on a big stage against a big opponent. That's what I'm most excited about. I'm excited to go see our guys cut it loose, play relentlessly, and just have them have this opportunity. They've earned this opportunity because of the work they put in.
Rick, did you have anything for Spencer? Okay, I'll go follow-ups real quick. Jay, for you for one.
Spencer, this might be the perfect follow-up to what Will was just talking about. But in the limited time that we've been able to access practice this year, I've noticed all your defensive players are wearing those white stripes on their helmets. We've seen that done with quarterbacks in the past. Mm-hmm. But whose idea was it to do that? How useful is it? And I guess depending on the answer, Andy Avalos used to be a defensive coordinator. Now that's your title. How much has he just allowed you to kind of do your own thing?
No, it's been awesome. Obviously, I lean on Andy a ton, and he's one of the best defensive minds in the entire country. So it's awesome having him to be able to pick his brain, and he can look at things and be like, Spence, we got to fix this, or I like this. Let's keep doing it this way. And so it's been a huge resource for me that I'm going to continually pick his brain and making sure that we put our players in the best situation. That's what I tell guys. Like, that's how I see my role. My role is just to make sure I put our players in good situations to be successful. And you move the stress around consistently with certain calls, and that's what the game is. But at the end of the day, putting them in good situations, and Andy does a ton to help me with that and see offenses and how he sees them and how to attack an offense and understand how to leverage the formation. And it's been huge. I mean, it obviously throughout offense, defense, special teams, he has a huge role in making sure that the product on the field is what it needs to be. And so it's huge. In regards to the stripe on the helmet, I honestly don't know who was the first to kind of bring it up, but obviously to your point, Will, it's eye control, so we can see it when we're watching, because it's obviously tough with the helmet on and whatnot. If the stripe's looking this way and the guy they're supposed to be looking at's over here, you can't run from that. Like, oh no, coach, I was looking at him. You ain't looking at them like that. There's just, that ain't happening, so it's a way for us to have some checks and balances in regards to check our guys, to know, Are you playing with the eye discipline you need to be successful? And if not, let's get it fixed.
Bob, you said you had one as well.
Yes, I do. Coach, how much has the defense been helped because your offense this year is running a more up-tempo style? You were with the team at Florida State, wasn't quite the same tempo that our offense played with. So how much is going against a faster tempo do you think help you get ready for this game?
Oh, I think it helps a ton, Bob. I mean, our guys see it every day in fall camp, in spring ball, and Tim does a great job with our offense. I've said this multiple times, from not only his tempo, but the schematics he has and how he uses the athletes and the weapons he has to put them in situations where they can be successful. So it's been awesome for our defense, awesome for the defensive staff to compete against the offense and what they do. And I really truly believe the term we've used prior is iron sharpens iron. I believe that happened for us in spring ball over the summertime and even fall camp, which helped us prepare for this game and even the season to come.
All right, Spencer, appreciate the time. Get you out of here. Thanks very much, and good luck down in Florida.
Appreciate you guys. Get ready to sweat a little bit. See you guys.
See you, Spencer.
All right, guys, files are coming. They'll be we divided them up, so there'll be 3 separate.
Recording stopped.
Okay, well, there'll be 3 separate files for everybody. I'll send them out right now.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.